Welcome back to Briggs on Books, where we talk to authors, editors, publishers. There's so many steps in getting a book out there. People think, I'm going to write a book. They have no idea how much it goes into, once you've written the book, what you have to do after that. So we ask experts from the industry to come in and talk to us about it. And today, our guest is Roberta Thorndike, and she's an editor, not just an editor, copy editor, proofreading, all these kinds of things that go into having a book put out. Tell us about your services, Roberta.
Okay. Well, I provide line editing, copy editing, and proofreading services. Those are different levels of editing, and there are actually only a few out of the many that most books go through. So yeah, line editing is a creative form of editing where I really work very closely with the authors to elevate their writing, to just kind of, I like to say, I kind of massage their words a little to help them really get their message across the way that they intend to. And copy editing is more about grammar, spelling, that kind of thing. And then, of course, proofreading is the final polish. That's where I go through and check all the punctuation, double check the grammar and spelling, check for all of the proper names, make sure they're spelled correctly. If it's a nonfiction, that's a big part of my job, is to check the names and just really help authors to be able to publish their writing with confidence.
I bet never thought about it, but nonfiction could even be harder because sometimes there's some very specific place names or things like that in the book.
Yeah, it really is. Nonfiction is quite involved, depending on what type of work it is. I do a lot of work with Christian authors where I'm, double checking all of their Bible references, and those have to be just right, just right. Yep. And then, in terms of the other, like, for example, I'm working today on a political title written by a congressman, and that is a lot of fact checking as well, checking every website that's noted, checking all the names and cities and all of that stuff. It's quite involved, but I love it.
Each of I got 2 master's degrees, and each one of them took us through a style book. Like one was Chicago, Turabian, I'm not even sure how to say it, but writing about Bible and getting the verses right, the author has to pick which Bible version, I would imagine. Oh, yeah,
and as you can imagine, there are many of them. There are many. And so I'm very thankful for, the online resources that we have, that I'm able to check whatever version, because some authors, they will use several different versions in the same manuscript, depending on what they're trying to get across. So, definitely checking a lot of different versions there.
I'm a reader, and I read even books by Simon & Schuster. I find mistakes in them, so it's so important to have an editor, a copy editor, a proofreader, probably multiple stages of people going through and over your book.
Yeah. And, that being said, it is, we do find these errors in books, that have gone through all of these stages of editing and been through the proofreading process. But the thing is that a proofreader, a human proofreader, will catch more than any program you're going to have. You're going to run it through. But we are still human, and there will be some things that we miss.
Do you get people sometimes say, I like to write like a human? I know that's wrong, but I still like to say it that way.
Oh, yeah. There was a funny little thing I saw on Instagram just the other day about not ending a sentence with a preposition, right? Well, sometimes that's just the way we talk, but we want to, writers, they want to write the way they talk. And that's another big part of my job is to really protect and honor the author's voice.
I say that's okay too, but you want to know, you want somebody to say, that is technically incorrect. You say, okay, I want it that way, rather than having it go that way because you didn't have the knowledge. It's
Exactly, exactly.
decision.
And that's where it's like, I make suggestions. I don't just come in and, really just hack up a writer's work.
Yeah.
I make the suggestions. They have the option of accepting them or rejecting them, or having a conversation about why I'm suggesting the type of corrections or changes that I'm suggesting.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say names of companies, but I love Grammarly, and I love even Microsoft Word. And but still, that human touch is important. Microsoft Word keeps telling me passive voice, passive voice. I don't know what that means, but I need somebody who's a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm just a historian. I need somebody who understands the language and the proper structure to get me beyond some of those things that are my habits.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
how about this? If somebody writes a book, a nonfiction book, and it just lists a lot of dates and places and details and trying to make some points and stuff, is there someone that could come in and just help them make it more of a narrative, more of a story than just a lot of facts and fiction?
Well, it definitely, and that would be perhaps like a developmental editor would probably be a good place to start with that. That way, they're able to really help the author line things up, and then the line editing is very helpful also, because I work with language a lot in the line editing, really trying to work at the sentence level and the paragraph level to help rewrite, and just like I said, just kind of massage those words to get them. But yeah, it's definitely the relationship between author and editor. If you've got a good connection, we can really, really help authors to elevate their writing and to get their message across.
By the way, I'm going to put some info on the screen here, your web address, your Instagram. If somebody goes to this web address, joyful-1-editing.com, what are they going to find there?
Well, they'll find a little bit about me, and they'll find my services, and a description of my services and my rates. And those are just the basic rates. Oftentimes I will work with authors to, have a package deal or something, and that there's a little wiggle room on my rates. And also there's a form there. There's a contact form you can fill out, and just tell me a little bit about what you're working on, and what kind of services you need, and then I contact contact people right after that.
Nice, very nice. Now, I ask every author this question, like, who needs your book? Who needs your service? But Roberta, it sounds like anybody needs your service, that they'd better use it, before they go too much further. At what point should they contact you?
Contacting me would be after your manuscript is ready to go. In terms of the author is done making any major changes. They've either done the self-editing, where they've done their own developmental editing, where they've done all of that checking themselves, like, this is really what I want it to be. And then they would contact me, and depending on what their level of need is. Some of my clients, that they're only after proofreading. They're happy with the editing. They've done a great job. They're experienced authors and writers, and so they really don't need the higher levels of editing, because they've either already gone through that or they've done it themselves.
Right.
So for the proofreading, it's definitely like, okay, we're ready to hit the press. We want to just polish this gem up before we do. And that's when they would contact me. However, if an author is like, well, it's pretty good, but I want to make sure it's really, really good, then they would contact me for line editing and copy editing services.
Well, like I say, I always find errors in books, You get this, can't see the forest for the trees thing. You've written it and read it so many times yourself that there'll be big mistakes in there that you just won't see no matter how many times you read it. Now, should they have some readers read their book before they send it off to you?
Yes, beta reading and alpha reading is very common in the industry. It's a great way for authors to get feedback, like honest feedback on the story itself or the book itself, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. But like, okay, is this really going to reach my audience, is what the author wants to know. And so they would enlist the help of readers to find that out. And that does happen definitely before it gets to me.
Yeah. And also the readers may say, well, this makes no sense. This doesn't go here. This doesn't go there. They're going to want to work through all that before they bring it to you, I would imagine. Now, I always think of authors and books, but are you doing proofreading and editing for other types of technical journals or anything like that?
I have done a lot of articles and product descriptions, and working with copywriters who are writing blogs, or like I said, product descriptions, which is really an interesting niche. But I have done a lot of copy editing for copywriters as well.
Nice. So a lot of people could use your services, just not just authors of books. We're really running out of time, but I want to give you a minute or two to. I ask so many questions. They say, why don't you let your guests talk sometimes? But what else do you want our viewers to know?
Well, I would say that yes, if you are publishing anything that you want to reach a wide audience with, whether it's an article, whether it's a book, whether it's business content, you really, really should enlist the help of at least a proofreader to make sure that you're getting your message across. It can really, really affect the business end of things. It can affect how many people will buy your book and read it, the reviews you're going to get. So yeah, definitely enlisting the services of an editor and proofreader is a worthy investment.
Yeah. I don't hire people who end their sentences in prepositions. So, I mean, it can affect you. It can affect how things turn out for you, I would imagine, by putting something in there that someone else would find like non-intellectual or something that should just be caught. So I get that. But thank you, Roberta. What a great service you provide for people. And I encourage I encourage people to go to the website, joyful-1-editing.com. Also, we put the Instagram on the screen, joyful_1_editing. And we want you to come back every month, Roberta. You have such an important service. We want our viewers to know about it.
All right. It's my pleasure. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. And for the authors, you know who to call, Roberta Thorndike. And we'll be back with more authors right after this.
Okay.